Hi there. This is Sunday Chat. We interview people who currently use drugs or have used drugs in the past, or people whose lives are connected to people who use drugs. The conversational objective is to get a better understanding of the life of the users, their fears, their struggles, their joy, and their hopes. My name is Alain Vincent. I'm a pharmacist with an interest in addiction, and this is Interview with a Drug Addict. And I met Mr. Hore not through addiction, but through his singing. You know, he was singing in the window of his house, which was on top of the pharmacy, and there was no missing that voice. Mr. Hore has a beautiful voice. So I want to thank him for agreeing to the interview today, and let's start straight to the subject.
Very good.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
You asked me a question before the interview. What drove me into this?
Yes.
Right. What drove me into this is the desire to learn about addiction. Right, because we know very little, especially healthcare professionals. I think we know one side of the problem, of the complexity of the problem, and we meet you for very brief moments, even although we meet every day, right, as pharmacist and client, but we have a very superficial knowledge of the individual. That's why I want to know who's Mr. Hore. By knowing the individual, I will know more, I will have more understanding, and so will everybody else.
Right. Which is part of human nature, is to be rather reserved, at least the way that not to open yourself up completely. Nice to have some cards to play when needed but not expected. My addiction started very, very young. My mother was not mentally well. My grandmother would call it fragile. I believe the medical establishment would call it schizophrenic to a slight degree, without the paranoia. But coming from a fairly upper middle class family, that is not acceptable. To have much weakness, either the weakness is hidden or it's, kept in the basement, or somehow find an avenue to keep it in the shadow. So it is hidden. It is hidden no matter which way you look at it. I'm trying to find a better analogy, but no, it's...
And born here in Victoria?
No, my mother was born on the opposite side of the country in Nova Scotia.
You as well?
No, I was born in Montreal.
You're born in Montreal? I didn't know that.
Yes.
You're a Québécois?
I'm a Québécois, yes.
With very little French?
Very little French. Beaconsfield is where my family's from, which is all Anglo-Saxon, just past the McGill, coming from the west. To the east, before you get to the island as such.
Yeah.
The old McGill campus, the trade school of McGill, just past that, is called Beaconsfield, and it's right on the lake shore there.
So you were raised in Montreal?
No, I was not raised anywhere. I lived very limited time in any one space. My longest stint would have been Edmonton, from the ages of 4 until 10 was my longest stint anywhere. I went in between parents, of course, because of the time. My parents never did get along, and it was a high school sweethearts type thing. Married way too young, and never really knew each other. The families lived 2 blocks from each other in the neighborhood, and my mother's a West Coaster and my dad's an East Coaster. So I was kind of stuck in between them, but again, during the 70s, of that time of early 70s, the turmoil, and after the 60s, the mother, of course, knows best, and you're left with the mother, which was definitely not the right choice. And if I had any say about it at 4 years old, I would have stayed with my father, but of course you don't have any say. And luckily enough,
So they separated?
Yes, they separated, and my mother had no ability to take care of me.
But she took you?
But she took me and took me to her family.
Yeah.
So she was always sheltered in a good way. I never had directly with my mother, only in very few instances. My grandfather was in the Secret Service, and during his retirement, he was a colonel, and the colonel rank gets 3 years anywhere in the world, all expenses paid. And my grandmother in the 70s chose the south of France, and that was when my world changed completely. It was felt fairly normal up until the
How old were you then?
3rd grade. I was 7 when they went to France. And so my grandparents knew that my mother could not take care of me, and I didn't have many options.
And you were a unique child?
Yes, and I was very unique and very hyperactive, extremely hyper. And they decided that the best way was to be in a hospital. That way they could see if there was anything wrong with me, if the genes had passed on. Mm-hmm. My dad suffered.
So they were afraid you had
the same genes as my mother had,
your mom.
With their fragile child. My mother has 5 siblings, so there's 6 in total in my mother's side of the family. Mm-hmm. 4 girls and 2 boys on my mother's side of the family. So they decided that they had 1 daughter next to my mom. She was younger than my mom, Carol, and they decided Carol was a psych nurse and she had connections and they knew the system, and they could get me analyzed at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, and then I was off to the Glen Rose Hospital for a full stay.
Just for showing hyperactive symptoms?
Yes, well, they met both my mother and myself, and they realized the situation and were explaining the situation, and they quickly assessed that I was much better off with them than I would be with my mother.
Yeah.
And my mother,
How did she take it?
Well, she would still get the full coverage of having me, and the financial support, and that was her main concern. I was never held as a child. I rocked myself to sleep until I was 20 years old. I never remember any affection ever.
From your mother?
Yeah, never, and never my father either. But my mother being my major caregiver. And I should explain the separation was immediate after they were married. It didn't come into full term until the age of 4. But they were always apart. And when my mother was apart, she would be with a sister in Vancouver, or a brother in Edmonton, or back with friends in Montreal. So there's always other people to care for me, even just because I was in my mother's presence. Mm-hmm. So I never had any time with my father at that age. So I don't know if he would have held me when I needed that kind of bonding or not.
What do you remember of him?
Oh, I remember well. My gift or curse is that of memory, and I have a very vivid, very good memory, almost photographic, but not quite. And I can damper it as I do with substances and things, that when things get dark, and I'm often reminded. brought back there very quickly with situations, and I damper it. I don't like to be in pain, as no one does, and I enjoyed inflicting physical pain during football. I was quite a any sport. I played all sports.
These your high school years?
Yeah, I was a.
So you made it through high school?
Oh no, I didn't make it through high school at all. I
not?
made it through football season, and then I would get called into the office and quickly, shook hands with the principal. We were usually a football fan, and I was always a captain. And I had a scholarship at 15 in my second year of high school.
So you were good in sports?
Yeah. Oh yeah, very good. I excelled.
Your academics?
I wasn't bad in academics, but I just never applied myself. I find them very boring. I knew how to, my grandmother on my mother's side, who was my primary caretaker, I would look at her as my female figure in my life. She was a university librarian who did it all pro bono. She could do it. Her father was a shipping migrant at the turn of the century, and so she never had to do anything financially, and she did it she ran the University of Alberta, managed it, and never paid her a penny for it. So she had having 6 kids before me, and my uncle being only 4 years older, was in the same public school as I was for 2 years, and the same Cub pack, and that kind of thing. So I had my uncle was like a brother, and so having so much experience, and me being the youngest or the youngest child to my grandmother, or oldest grandchild, whichever way you want to look at it, she had skills, and she would, when I was in a hyper state, she would grab me and put me on her chest, and she was a very small lady, but you didn't realize how small until you got growing, She was all of 4'11".
But were you conscious you were hyperactive yourself?
Very, very, very much so.
And you were causing trouble?
Yeah, and I was drawn to it. It was an attention seeker. I seemed to get attention when I caused trouble. And I did it all my life.
Until your teens? Or during your teens?
No, it's never stopped.
Never stopped?
Never stopped, no. I've always had the same skills. Now, physically, you can't do the same things you used to do.
Yeah.
And the program I'm on, or the environment I'm in right now, has left me exist and kept me challenged, slowed me down a little bit, taken my hands and feet, but still left me healthy enough mentally to exist with all the challenges that I have. I'm never bored, and it suits my hyperactivity.
And what
internal.
When was your first experience with any kind of drugs?
And
how old were you?
Sniffing glue. And
you started by sniffing glue?
Yeah, sniffing glue, and I was just into the hospital, and it was on a weekend furlough with my mother out of the hospital at Glenrose Hospital in Edmonton, Alberta. I would sometimes get weekends occasionally.
Was sniffing glue a popular thing in those days?
Very, very popular.
Really?
It was the thing.
Wow.
The glue, the corner of the bag of cement. We lived in a lower class neighborhood, which was what my mother could afford, and it was called Whitehall Squares.
So that was the most accessible.
Yeah, for teenagers.
We
could get it, and we didn't have to.
And what would it do to you when you sniff a glue?
Oh, it would heighten your senses and dull others. So it would heighten your hearing and take away your visual as such. So you would...
For a short time or for a while?
For a short time, but time didn't really have a bearing. It would seem like much longer than physically it was. And it was very, very much a good high, very strong, good high, it was a high that was very satisfying to the addiction, to someone that wants to escape.
Would it make you less hyperactive, or how
yes,
did it
very much so. It would get you very introverted and would take away all power of concentration or reverting to any pictures, outside or inside. All it was the changing of the sounds around you. The cars, such tones would hit you from such a distance, and a dog barking, 4 blocks away, or a brake, or a muffler, or a tree breeze, or the leaves, or someone walking.
Who would get
by.
you out of yourself?
Who would get me out of it? Or
it would get you.
It would get me away from myself, and I was always social, so I was never alone during those times. And it progressed, and you met other people into it from a little group that you were in, and we used to have people that worked parents worked during the day and would go over into the summer month to a certain apartment. And then we started finding the way to get high was to kill yourself with a wall pushing on your neck and shutting your air passage off. And
you're kidding me.
No, that was a form of getting high. And
then choke yourself.
So you wouldn't choke yourself, you'd be choked out by somebody else. And then as soon as you would pass out, they would let you drop, and not drop in a violent way, but drop to the ground. And then when you woke up, it was, that was great, And there was no sexual, I understand, but I understand that.
Was it mostly boys?
No, there was half and half. Half and half. I always got along better with girls than I did boys.
And this was in the 70s?
Yes, this was in the 70s.
So your first experience with drug was sniffing glue. And it was a popular thing.
Yeah.
Are people still sniffing glue now today?
They are.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you get the same effect if you sniff glue right now?
I haven't tried in a long time. I had when my father got me, occasionally I would sniff glue, because it was still at 10 years old when my father finally got custody of me.
Yeah.
Found out that I was in the hospital. And one time I was in the back, we lived in townhouses, and I would climb up a tree and try to hide myself. I think I was quite hidden. And a neighbor had noticed me in the tree, sniffing glue in a bag, and he called my father. And my father was a very, physical man, boxer, football player, big man, and very intimidating. And his voice was very low and bellowed, and he came in and, Billy, and I looked down, and there was my father, and immediately, straight, all this, the drug effect, the adrenaline would shut down any effect of the drug, and I saw my father, and my dad just stared at me and walked away, with his head down. And that was the worst punishment that I'd ever got from my father.
You felt like you'd...
and he was a backhanding, belt-giving, real physical man. But the worst thing was no punishment. He was ashamed of me. And
when he saw you?
When he saw me, he was ashamed of me.
And how old were you then?
10 years old. And that was pretty much the end of my glue sniffing.
Because he was ashamed of you?
Because he was ashamed of me, yeah.
So your first quitting of drugs was because your father was ashamed of you?
That's right.
And you quit the glue?
That's right.
Did he talk to you after that, or did you talk to him about it?
No.
There was
a brief off-the-cuff conversation, as it was all off-the-cuff with my father. It was never eye to eye. It was always, while he was reading the newspaper, never, and he avoided any depth. And I longed for it. But I remember a conversation of him basically saying that, hey, I've done all kinds of everything that there is to do in this world, and there's nothing worse than that what you're doing. That's got to be the lowest, huffing of, and again, just reaffirming the shame, because he knew I was intelligent. He was very intimidated by my intelligence.
Yeah. Why shame is such a big, the shame part of drug use?
I think one thing I've found in common with addicts is it's acceptance. They feel along the line somewhere that they're not quite accepted in their surroundings. Mm-hmm. And usually it's from social issues, why they're not accepted. They have quirks or social inabilities.
Like the person cannot level with the society.
Yeah,
and the same rhythm.
They don't. Yeah, exactly. They're offbeat.
As if you were a student and you can't cope in the classroom with the other kids.
Right.
Is that comparable?
Yeah, quite often, and many of us were specially educated because of that.
Yeah.
That is a common theme, that we were segregated as such growing up. So acceptance to be in the norm is always seems to be a common flow for the addict.
Yeah.
Quite often they just
acceptance, not because of drug, acceptance of the individual.
No, they want acceptance from their peers.
Yeah.
Those around them.
Because of themselves.
Because of themselves, they want to feel that they belong. And I don't think that the average addict feels like they belong. And often addicts cover up their lack of abilities with drugs.
Yeah.
So they, for whatever reason, say they have schizophrenia, or they have this ADHD, or this manic, various common, I would do the quotes, but without hands it's hard to quote now, deficits. They hide behind an addiction and are never, in their life, they stay with the different addictions and never get straight enough to be properly analyzed. And that's a common theme. You know, for instance, downtown in Victoria here, we have a huge block, and those that are left that haven't been killed off of our block are I'd say 80% of them would be diagnosed with various ailments of the mental condition, let alone physical. Let's forget the physical side. We're strictly dealing with the mental side here. And they can't get analyzed because they'll never, for one thing, the society that we're in don't find their worth. Don't find the suburb kids would much more be in line first before they would, the inner city kids as such. And they do these drugs and are in this addiction.
What would you say the percentage of people that I see outside with addiction issues that really have mental issues? The addiction is just come secondary of the mental issues.
At least 80%.
80%?
Yeah, probably higher.
Wow, that's a big number.
It's unbelievable.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
That make me think about something. I come from Haiti, very poor country, and mental health is not seen the same way because it's an underdeveloped society, right? It's not a society where it's not a society based on work. You know, that's the thing that I find by moving in North America. This is a society based on work. This is the essence of the society here.
And worth in that work.
And worth of that work, exactly. Your social status because of work.
Right.
Right. And work has to be growing all the time, right? We because we're poor in a poor society, work is not the center of our lives, right? So people with mental health are not seen the same. They're more tolerated, right? They can because everybody's poor, and the mental health guy who has mental health issue, he's poor too. So it's not a big deal. So I'm wondering if this guy in a poor society had access to drugs, right? Would he have the same urge to do drugs?
Yes, I wonder the same thing now that you pose that question, but I don't believe so. I believe it's part of upbringing and part of a class society. I am very, because of my upbringing, because of the way I talk, and I didn't get to finish on my grandmother. She was when she would calm me down, and she would She taught me how to read before I ever went to school.
Yeah.
The deal was I would have to sound out the first paragraph, and C.S. Lewis was her choice of authors to bring me up. And I was quite well educated before I ever went to school, so I didn't ever have to pay attention. You know, for my first formative years of schooling, and that became quite a mandate for the rest of my schooling. And then I got to the hospital a few years after I started public school. And in that school, I had a master's degree, a teacher with 3 different degrees, spending the full day with me and one other student named Kelly Adams. And having that teacher, we were playing propaganda games when other kids were playing Flip Jumped Over the Fence, and Flip, you know, waited for Mary at the gate. You know, teaching them very simple skills. And we were far beyond that. We had so much attention and an active soundboard that would never.
How old were you then?
I was 7, 8, 9,
Yeah.
10. 8, 9, 10, I guess. My birthday's in September, so everything happens in the summer in our society out here. We make decisions. We start the year. We do everything at the end of the summer. You know, everything starts from there. But besides that, and we do the physical accounting at the coldest time of the year. You know, all to do with, which is interesting.
But did you always know you were smarter than the average guy?
Yeah.
You knew that?
Yeah.
Does it make it harder for you?
Yes.
Why?
I don't choose to be the smartest. I don't choose to be the leader. I just am, because there's nobody better for the job, or there's nobody that can do the task at hand. And that becomes envied all the time. You're always in this envy world that you must address. And for one that's a drug addict and wants to be accepted,
yeah,
that's an oxy that doesn't come easy at all. You often try to dumb yourself down, which is probably my origination of drugs in the first place, is trying not to be special, to be like everybody else.
When did you start using heavy drugs? We talk about the
football days, 17. I busted a shoulder, or no, it was earlier than that. I left home at 13, so 15 I was in a lifeguard camp, and we got fired for smoking cigarettes, and I went home with the head lifeguard. He lived in St. Catharines at the time, and we were working at a camp in Selkirk, Ontario, on Lake Erie, Hagersville. Anyway, St. Catharines was close, and I didn't have much connections in my hometown that I hadn't burnt or.
Yeah.
So I anyway went home with my coworker, my boss as such, a kid a couple years older who was a head lifeguard, and he had a Bronze Cross, I had a Bronze Medallion, which made him one step ahead of me. And his parents were ex-ministers, and football was always great because any school would take me. I had a good football resume, and anybody with a football team would take a guy like me. So I could always get into school, but then I would usually, sell papers out of, joints out of a van or something, to get, I didn't never have much interest in schooling, because again, I didn't really need to, and I felt it quite boring. And it's really rude to, people think you're just not humble.
Yeah.
But you don't have humility. Humility is not a thing that comes with somebody that can do it, it's usually, humility comes in with failure, it's a learned trait of people that fail. So if failure is an option, you must learn how to be humble. But if failure is not an option, humility is not a well-known trait. It's not a trait that one would look for or practice.
What was your first major failure? I was a smart guy. You had everything.
My father was my father and my first. You're asking me a tough question, but my first failure was not foreseeing my destiny. I had a calling, and I didn't realize it until far too late. And that was the way this country runs. There's a government agency that runs it from a British standpoint, and secrets are passed down in blood, not in marks or in student standouts, or it's passed through blood. And I was next on the list to be passed on the information that my my grandfather's grandfather was a colonel in the Northwestern Mounted Police, and his position was information. So he controlled the information in Western Canada from Winnipeg to Victoria. And with his British schooling, he was taught to yea or nay, whatever public consumption could handle.
Yeah.
And that was passed on to his grandson. And because my grandfather had no kids that it could be passed on to, it was then to be passed on to me. But I had already, had my share of armed robberies and my share of juvenile school and quite a little shit before I had any idea that...
So you had a criminal background?
Yeah, and that was the end of that. And when I came out here to play ball, it was fine. And they still would have overlooked all that. It would probably have been an asset to the service, just having that experience. But then I flipped over a car in a high-speed chase. My first few months after joining the football team here, the first year I was here at 18 in 1988, I guess. I had cracked my shoulder. I fell out in the summer of '88. I fell off the French train trestle. I met a girl on the bus in Winnipeg, and then met my mother again, and quick realization of what shape she was in. Because I phoned her in Vancouver and told her I was coming the next day, and I hadn't seen her in 8 years. And she said she'd pick me up at the ferry, and she was so glad I was here. And when I got off the ferry, nobody. I had my rucksack and I had no idea where I was going. I'd come here as a child to Victoria to vacation and stuff, so I knew a little bit about how to get around. But I had my mom's address. I went to my mom's address and I waited all day. Nobody home. And at about 12 o'clock, the landlady came out and said, I've seen you sitting here, son. What's going on? And I explained to her the situation, who my mom was. And, I see the symbol. I can see the resemblance. And quickly let me into my mother's apartment, and it was like a frozen mausoleum. When I went in, the furniture was all the same and everything. Wow, the artwork and everything. Here I am, right back. And at 2 o'clock, the keys rustling in the door, and there's my mother with her boyfriend. And, Billy, there you are. This is my boyfriend. And they're off in the bedroom, and my crush was it. So that was it for that. There was a one-night reunion for my mother and I. And
that was your coming to Victoria?
Yeah, and I just
and how old were you?
I segued there, 18.
18.
And you get homesick your first year. You go back to make sure you're making the right decision, because it's quite overwhelming coming to this paradise.
Let me go back to my original question that you haven't answered.
Yes.
When was your first encounter with heavy drugs?
Football.
With friends?
With friends.
And
this
what
was in
drug
park.
was it?
Demerol was the first drug I was injected with Demerol in the hospital.
And that was on the East Coast?
That was in central Ontario.
Demerol?
Demerol,
in form of tablet or in form of injection?
Injection.
Okay, so your first true encounter with a heavy drug was Demerol. And before that, did you smoke cannabis?
Lots of it.
Okay.
Lots of it. I don't, it is a gateway drug.
You were smoking cannabis and cigarettes?
Oh yeah, cigarettes,
Cannabis. Were you drinking alcohol?
Yeah.
But was it heavy or casual?
Anytime chance I could get without socially diverting. I had a certain standard of friends that I liked to chum with.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't be low. You couldn't be low on the toe. You couldn't just drink all the time or get high, because then you'd be segregated to a lower social standing.
So explain to me the experience of Demerol.
I broke my collarbone on a tree going for a long
That drug is no longer on the market, you know that?
Pardon me?
It's no longer on the market.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, what's your experience of it?
And I was injected with the...
First of all, where did you get to Demerol?
In the hospital.
In the hospital?
Yeah, I went. I'm trying to explain that to you, but you keep interrupting me.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was playing football. I hit my shoulder on a tree, snapped my clavicle, and went to the hospital. Friends drove me to the hospital. They took me in and shot me up with Demerol. I was in a lot of pain. And as the cart was moving down the hallway to take x-rays, the lights were changing, were rainbowing, the fluorescents were rainbowing, and I felt so warm and comfortable, and I knew then that this would be my pursuit, that this was the feeling that I longed for, that this numbness was beautiful, and very, very much what I was looking for. And I never got into it again. Back to the cannabis and the booze for years and years, and then got into serious football, which was I'm playing for a gas station out here, and we had our own team doctor, and paying for a Payless gas station, and you break bones as a receiver. I was an inside receiver, and ribs and things. And I broke my ribs the first time, and got handfuls of 292s, I think codeine, 282s or 292s, whatever the one with the most codeine in it, and frozen my ribs with Novocaine injections, and played the best games of my life, fearless, losing the alligator arms, because in football you have no protection on your ribs, and so you're always shortening your ability to fully extend your arms, and that goes totally away when you're frozen. You're not afraid, you're fearless. And then it progressed to the point where I wanted that feeling to see if I could do other things to that same extreme. If I could do football extreme when I was high, well, I could do other opiates and see if I could, be with a girl and
on opiates.
On opiates, and see what it was like. See if I could be the stud I always thought.
Where would you get the opiates?
Well, an addict can smell drugs anywhere.
Did you become an addict by then?
Yeah, but not. Cocaine occasionally. No different than any other kid growing up in society. It was pretty much normal, but I was always on my own, so I didn't have any disciplinary figures. Yeah, and that's always a problem when you have no one that above you or that cares about you significantly to give you an honest perception that you will take seriously. And I had nobody like that. And so I got into playing football, and so the best game, and then I just looked for it after that, and it quickly unveiled itself. And you could just drive back in those days until the Commonwealth Games. There was no crack.
And you were on your own?
Yeah, I was totally on my own.
No, you weren't living with your parents?
No, I haven't lived with my
no
host.
Father?
No.
You weren't seeing your father at that time either?
No, I would go home for Christmas occasionally when he was in Calgary.
And you were supporting yourself?
Oh yeah, I paid
financially.
I was paid to play football, and I learned about doctors from the hospital. So I learned how to manipulate physicians. Yeah, very much so, and could get anything I wanted that had value from a doctor, and that's how I survived for a long time.
Football was a very big part of your life.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd do much else, and most of us don't at that
And
level.
that's how you supported yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't have any other skills, any other profession.
I escaped from juvenile school, and I had a trade of fencing, putting fence posts.
Yeah.
That's how they do it in Ontario. They have to go below the frost line, 3 feet down. So I had worked one escape. I had escaped a couple times, but one escape I had taken up fencing and had my own crew right away. And I was 17. Took to it really well. I liked the hard work, just digging rocks out of the ground with a pinch bar and having a drill, with a straight auger. It was just my kind of thing. You just put digging holes in the ground.
But during all that time, were you using occasionally?
No, it got heavier and heavier all the time. Even my jail days were heavy. I mean, I started the needle, in jail, and adults, where I got to the worst of the juvenile school, because again, being naturally kind of a leader, and physically being large, I took care of. I felt like I looked after a lot of guys. I always liked the nerdy kids. I was always attracted to intelligence, and usually that comes from socially inept individuals. So I always looked out for them, and that makes you a natural leader, because intelligence rules more than brawn, even in brawn places. So I was always kind of anyway, I went right up to the worst place I could be in Ontario, and that was Maplehurst, and that was an adult jail, minimum security at the time, and a maximum security on the inside, and an inside circle. So we're the worst 300 kids in Ontario. We're in 2 units in this jail, and that was an eye opener. That was power. I was
Something you have not experienced before.
Not experienced, but I took well to it, and I knew
how. And why? You were in your environment?
I was in my environment. I was in an environment where I could be who I wanted to be. I could fight when I wanted to fight. I could, release that stress, and I could also be an intellectual. I wanted to be there and teach.
Yeah.
And I had my music, which is my first love of life, because of my upbringing, because I never had any close friends, but I had the radio that my grandfather had given me quite young, a realistic.
How come you never had any close friends? I always wondered that.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't.
You needed companionship. From what I hear.
Yeah, I very much needed it, but I don't know.
You didn't have any steady girlfriend either.
Oh yeah, I had a steady girlfriend
for a long time.
All my life here in Victoria. We met when we were 25. I was 25.
Yeah,
so 30
so you had
years.
long-term relationships.
Yeah, and when she died, I hit the skids. That's what happened to me. People don't realize that.
Explain.
So when I lost my hands and feet, we were living apart because I was, she couldn't handle the drugs anymore, and so I had to move out of the condo, and was living down on Humboldt Street, like ghetto old nurses building. Anyway, but she was still my best friend and ally and everything else in life. And I just got my hip replaced on my left side, which I hurt during jumping jacks when I was 13. So I waited all those years. So, they don't do it when you're young, and you just eventually until you just slide your hip behind you, and they finally will do it.
Yeah.
And I got the hip fixed, and I was trying to give up the methadone because I was a drug addict all through my life here, and I was tired of not being able to think properly and not being able to do what I wanted to do. And I always worked, and I'd work in Alberta drilling, and I would always do but I was never happy with having to be going to the pharmacy all the time, and it just made me. And in Alberta, you got carries, you got 30 days at a time, and I was on way too much.
Yeah.
So I could, live on that half the time. But the ethic was always the same. Was it was escape. But to answer your question, I'm what do they call that? I'm falling off again.
The girlfriend.
I'm yeah.
Yeah, you said you had a girlfriend, and
she was just steady through the whole thing. And so when I lost my hands and feet, I'd called her and said, "Listen, I don't feel good. Can you stop off over after work and bring me some cream?" I guess I had done that because I was in a blackout. This is a mumble text that she had got. And she was always very reliable, and she came. And the thing I remember is waking up and sliding off my captain's bed to see who was coming in the door, and my leg hit the step, which was a chest, off the captain's bed, and went down like jello, right to my knee. I passed out again, and then woke up in intensive care during an induced coma, in and out of consciousness briefly, not aware of what was around me, in dreams that were unexplainable and very, very vivid. And Scrooge, becomes very much ingrained into your psyche, I realize, and it's like that. The angel takes you and shows you scenes of your life. Based on your theory, I cannot concur that it's a physical nature, that all comes down to just hanging on to one thing, their addiction.
Although drug addicts spend a big amount of hours of the day to get their drugs.
To acquire it.
Yeah. But more than 4 hours a day.
Oh yeah, much more, and if not...
That's what I mean by the physical.
I see.
Your activity is geared.
Yeah, and that's a lack of being able to do anything else with the certain drug that you're on. And you'll notice that society has realized this and funneled us onto a drug that they can control and that allows the addict such dependency on the system.
You're talking about fentanyl.
Yes, and it's a 20-minute drug. So you cannot go more than 20 minutes without then the next.
There has never been a drug like this before.
Never in my experience.
An opiate.
In the opiate.
No.
Nothing like it.
Heroin would give you the entire day.
Yeah,
it
would give you an 8-hour, even better, lifespan, legs as they call it. We call it on the street.
Yeah.
The legs are never been like this fentanyl. And this fentanyl was strictly introduced, I believe, for that control, to put people where they wanted to put them in order to, for whatever reasoning, whether it's population control, whether it's resources, whatever the case may be, they've introduced this on purpose. This is the drug that we are allowed to have. And that allows us to do nothing but concentrate on the drug, because it only allows us 20 minutes of comfort, which doesn't allow you to work, to do a straight job, or I worked many decades with heroin.
So you were functional with heroin?
Oh, totally, and I know many that are.
Yeah.
Besides your partner, and that's when, 8 or 9 years go by sometimes before you have to take off sweaters in your bedroom, to see your arms and your scars. That's even hidden from your closest ally.
So how many years did you use heroin?
I started right as soon as I found it. I was hooked, so from 17 or 18, I guess, 17, 18, till right up to losing my hands and feet 8 years ago. So I guess that's 3.5 decades.
And you could work
quite successfully.
Yeah.
When I wanted.
I've known many cases like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know many cases also, because that's what I'm attracted to, is people that still function and are addicts.
So in other words, if a drug could have been legalized, it could have been heroin.
Yes, very much.
But not fentanyl.
Not fentanyl. No, fentanyl is like the sniffing glue of the opiates. You know, it's a non-functional quit.
That's such a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's a different animal.
It's a totally different animal, and a really cruel, sadistic animal for those that realize what it does.
What's the cruelest?
The cruelest
thing
part
about
of it is that it is so cheap
Mm-hmm.
to make, so easy to put together,
Yeah.
and yet the actual substance is then sold for 100 times its price.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is not any business plan. That is a cruel, cruel aspect of the
For
world.
a 20-minute,
Yeah, for a 20-minute.
how much you pay
really,
for 20 minutes?
Yeah, and there's not a bunch of middlemen in between the aspect of requiring this drug.
Yeah.
It's not the fentanyl producer that
Yeah.
makes the money. It is the middleman that then adds the caffeine,
Really?
the slight sweetener, and the bonding agent. 3 substances, boom, to put it together. The caffeine and the sweet binds it, and then it is sold for 10 times.
So the manufacturer
Sometimes
is not the
100
one
times.
making the money, as
Not that, no. So then, therefore, you ask the question: if it's not a financial gain, what is the gain? Who is to gain, and why? If it's not the drug dealers that are making the money, it's only the middleman on the street.
well, the middleman is a dealer.
Yeah, the middleman is a small dealer who doesn't have the tools
Mm-hmm.
to use that money properly. It's all new money.
Yeah.
You know what new money is. It's dysfunctional wealth. It goes back into the coffers immediately. It's not invested properly. It's to do nothing proper with.
Do most of the fentanyl we see here today, is it manufactured here in Canada?
I believe so, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Right here in Victoria?
No, probably Calgary, where it was quickly adapted. It was invented, I believe, in Amsterdam in '64,
Yeah.
and then by '66, Calgary had got it down.
So why fentanyl took so long to be?
Because
The
it's not a
mainstream
good drug,
drug.
because it's a bad drug.
Yeah, but it's cheaper than heroin.
It's
Heroin
very
is
much
like-
cheaper, but it's not a drug that society had the reason to give, because it did nothing but damage. So there'd be nothing, you wouldn't, a dealer or anybody that wanted to make money
Yeah.
would not have any interest in a drug like that. They couldn't maintain customers.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't. There's no longevity, no business plan with a drug like fentanyl. Fentanyl is strictly day by day.
A curious question. If somebody is addicted to fentanyl now, right, can they switch to heroin? Can they switch back to heroin?
No,
Impossible.
not impossible, but a long process.
It's a long process.
Yeah.
But do you think somebody would be able to do this?
Yes,
And it would be an improvement?
very much so. Very much so.
How come nobody's talking about this?
We haven't been asked. We haven't been given the voice. It's just now that it's an overwhelming problem. And we're in a mecca or an experiment under a kaleidoscope, like under in a wickedly manipulated environment where it's closed to the rest of.
Is heroin available in the streets?
It is at an extremely inflated price.
How much?
I don't know.
But if you want it, you can find it.
You can find it, but it's not available on an ongoing basis.
No.
You
So it's
can't-
not available.
No, so it's not available. That's
But
it.
if you go outside, I want fentanyl, I can get it right now.
You can get it on any corner, yes.
Yeah, I see. So difficult to beat fentanyl.
Yeah, difficult to beat it, and most addicts do not have any reason to beat it.
Yeah.
They are happy with the way it is, and
Yeah.
to have it acquire. And 20 minutes is great for most addicts. They
Yeah.
don't want anything else but 20 minutes, and they want something to take up their time and to have an excuse not to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
You know.
And with 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, you have to start again.
Yes, and
So you spend all your day.
you're constant from eyes opening to eyes shutting.
Yeah.
And your sleep is not content ever, because every 20 minutes you pang, there's a ping and a ping and a ping.
If there was an heroin program, right, an official heroin program, the same way they have the fentanyl patches, would you go to it?
Myself, no. I
Why not?
do not trust the government in any form. I don't think they have my best interests at heart. Anything that was controlled by the government, I would
So you don't trust the healthcare system?
No.
What made you reach that conclusion? What experience you had with the system?
When I was very young, and my babysitter was a psych hospital, and there was nothing wrong with me, and they knew that. So I knew if it could be that dirty at my initial experience with the medical system,
Yeah.
then I've always looked for that side of it, and always been able to see it. And I see all the wrongs. I don't see too many rights.
Yeah.
Even though I sit here as a man that is very thankful for the medical system for saving me physically. And so please don't let anyone that's watching this or
I
yourself
understand.
to think that I don't appreciate the medical services that I've received. But overall,
Is it approach to addiction in particular, not
No.
the rest?
no, the rest of it, it's all geared towards profit. Our hospital, the one that I was saved in, is owned by a prince in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
You know, it has nothing to do with Canadians. The checks come directly from him, and it's all administration, and who's worth it in our society is treated accordingly. The reason I was even saved was because of the work that was in my mouth. My dad had a good dental plan when I was very young, and had a lot of root canals and various bridgings I've done in my mouth.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here to have this interview. I would never be here. They would have never done the work to save me and spend the years of rehabilitation and all the cost for a life for a person in my social position.
Okay. The medical system came with the notion of safe supply, right? Oxycodone, Dilaudid, etc., and fentanyl patch. What do you think about it? About the safe supply? Does it help?
No, and it'll be used exactly the way the fentanyl is used, and they're probably second guessing, which those people in power would always do, I guess, because they're in control. And you know, they would have said, well, geez, why didn't we think of this in the first place? We should have just altered the heroin. We should have altered their supply routes. But that was, I think, the reason why it was easier to go to because then they were in control. They completely took a drug that no one would look for the heroin. No one would keep that pipeline opening. And so in hindsight, it wouldn't have been done this way. It would have been done a totally different way to achieve whatever the goal is. And I'm still not sure what that is. It's my mind doesn't think as cruelly. I don't want to get there. I don't even want to understand why they would do such a thing in a first world country and in such a place. Except for the isolation, it's a terrible thing to do to paradise. You know.
The government at one point was trying to introduce a program of diacetylmorphine, which is heroin, injectable, where the person would come to the pharmacy, I think twice a day, and they would be injected themselves, just as a substitute of methadone and other Acadian, etc., etc. What do you think about it? Since you say that heroin would work.
I'm familiar with some people, some rebels that have done it.
Really?
You know, yeah. There's a few guys in Vancouver that actually did it.
Yeah, it was done in Vancouver.
Yeah, and it's done right now as we speak.
Yeah,
and it's solid. They do a 70%.
Yeah.
Type of heroin.
Injectable.
Yeah, injectable, and they have a little office that the doctor has to refer them to.
Yeah.
And those people seem to be not showing any signs of improvement.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's...
When you say improvement, what do you mean?
I mean...
Not using fentanyl in the streets anymore?
No, I mean as in society's functional terms. I mean the way society values worth. we go back to the work aspect.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be doing anything to better selves.
Yeah.
They seem to be just finding a comfort zone and a way to.
I mean, they're not productive in
They're not productive to anybody else but themselves, and sometimes not even that. So to say that it works, it's not been accepted enough to work with. So then we have to go to the second step of, now that we've accepted it, which we only have those few gray areas to look at. Those people, I think it would work if there was a follow up with them, working with them to get them to function. Yeah. To actually give them some life skills, and when they are comfortable, when they are in their comfort zone, when they are in a place, but they're not, because they have to be straight in order, on no opiates, in order to be taught and to be to learn something functional that society needs or wants.
Fentanyl is here to stay.
Yeah. Do you believe so?
Listen, it's cheap. Easy to transport, easy to make, by opposition of heroin, right? Heroin is very difficult to make.
As an art?
Yeah, you need to plant, you need to harvest, you need to transform the heroin into, you need to transform the opium into heroin, this is a long process, and it's expensive, right? So if the business point of view, and the other one is a 20 minutes, so you have more customers, and you have more drug addicts. So for me, it's here to stay.
Okay.
So what do we do? You have an entire generation of people who never knew heroin. I see young guys, they never knew about heroin. They just became fentanyl addicts. What's the future of somebody like this? Methadone doesn't seem to work.
Death.
Yeah. That's what you see.
Yeah. And that's really sad. From what I see, there's no way to save them. I thought there would be, and there might be, but through my observations, they would much rather have death than they would give up their comfort. Because, as you say, it's cheap, it's accessible, and they've learned a life to live strictly chasing that. And
there's no way you can become functional.
No.
With fentanyl.
No, you would, even your functionality, you'd physically break down, whether you injected it or whether you smoked it. All the problems with that introduction to your system is going to kill you anyway.
But you still maintain your intellect.
Well,
how do you manage?
Because I fight it and have all the time. I never accept it. I know that I have.
You still could be functional.
Yeah, well, I am.
How does Mr. Hore stand out in this crowd?
This goes back to being always being different, and I'm very fortunate for that. I don't give up, and it doesn't matter.
So you still think?
I still think that I will succeed.
You don't think you're going to die as a drug addict?
No, not at all. There's more to tell.
How old are you?
I'm 55, and I'm still. 50 has been the best years of my life, and I've spent them in the roughest place I possibly.
So every day you wake up, you have the strong belief that you will not die as a drug addict.
Yes.
That's very powerful.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. But do you think you need to get out of here?
Yeah, right now I physically do. It's a physical thing. Yeah, very much so.
You think you should get out of Victoria?
Yeah.
You think it would help?
For a time, yes. I have to physically...
What would it take to get you out of Victoria?
Just a clean environment. I'm going to treatment right now.
You're going to treatment?
Yeah.
Where are you going to go?
Well, there's no place it'll take me, except there's one place that is offered to take me, Inroads or something. And I'll go there and dry out, deal with this. I've caught one of their local virus, like a bacteria that I need to clean off my body. Once that's done, I will, come back. And I believe that there's many like me that have abilities like I have, or they wouldn't have survived this far. They would have already been gone. So the ones that are left have as much ability, or if not more, than I do, to wake up and believe that they're not going to die drug addicts. Those that accept it, I have no time for. But there are many like me.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that I'd like to help, to say, hey, you're not the only one. And we can do this. And to educate children way before they ever take this plunge. Hey, you want to be like me? You could be just like me. And show them how I am. And kids like character, you know, and they'll listen. And I have the time, and I've been given the opportunity, so I'll step up. That's what keeps me going.
Good. Let's finish here today.
Okay. Thank you very much.
On a good note. We'll go deeper next time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
No, it's good.